in the 10th round. And I've been watching boxing obviously way before I even got involved in boxing since I was a kid. And I've noticed and discovered that in classic fights, special things happen where there's a battle of wills between both fighters, and most of those fights determine the winner in the 10th round. If you saw part one, I played or replayed what happened between Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Ricky Hatton, two undefeated world champions. As Floyd Mayweather knocked Ricky Hatton out in the 10th round. And then I also played what happened in the 10th round between Riddick Bowe, and Evander Holyfield, and how that was voted as the round of the century, where both men had a battle of wills. In the beginning, Riddick Bowe was doing his thing, hitting Holyfield with combinations to the head, to the body, putting on a masterpiece. But Holyfield's determination and will not to quit and give up rung true in the later stages of the round. And all of that happened in the 10th round. Then you saw me publish a replay of one of the first times that I started noticing referee Tony Weeks and the good job that he's done. Now, I'm going back 20-something years ago because I saw that fight live between Jose Luis Castillo and Diego Corrales. God rest his soul. And Castillo knocked Diego Corrales down twice in that same round. But Diego had a will to win, and he was determined not to lose. And it became a very classic round to the point where Diego knocked him out by TKO. And all of that happened in the 10th round. And then I even had to show when Crawford, after coming out the 9th round, after Bo Mack and his training camp told him, his training team, or his coaches rather, or his team, I'll just say his team, was telling him, you down on the scorecard against Sean Porter. You're down. You're down on the scorecards. You're losing this fight. And he came out the next round and he knocked Sean Porter down once. Porter gets up. He knocks Porter down again. And Sean Porter's dad, Kenny Porter, throw in the towel, stop the fight. And all of that happened in the 10th round. So special things, according to history, have shown us time and time again, that special things happen in the 10th round. And the reason why I keep highlighting the 10th round is because we've been hearing so much in boxing about the championship rounds 11 and round 12. But there's that 10th round, that round that most people overlook. I'm talking about according to history. According to history, special things have happened, in the 10th round. And I wanted to highlight it because I believe that in this fight between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, that something special is going to happen in this classic fight in the 10th round. The fight might be determined by the winner in the 10th round. We don't know, but I believe, I feel it in my gut. Something special is going to happen in the 10th round in this fight because history has shown us, basically time and time again what happens in the 10th round. So I was actually going to produce and publish and republish rather several fights like I did in part one here in part two. And first fight I was going to publish, and I'll say it now, was Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder. You know what I mean? When he fought Louis Ortiz the first time. And he won that fight in his 40th win, consecutive, 40 wins consecutively. And how did he win that fight? Not only did he knock Louis Ortiz down in that round, but he also landed a vicious right uppercut, putting Ortiz down. Referee stops the fight, and Wilder wins by TKO in the 10th round. And the other fight I was going to show was when James Buster Douglas went to Japan with all the odds stacked against him, specifically being a 42 to 1 underdog on the betting odds against the monster, the Iron Man, Iron Mike Tyson, who they just used Buster Douglas as a stepping stone, as a gatekeeper, so that they can prepare to fight for the titles against, well, unify the titles with Evander Holyfield. But Buster Douglas, remember I told you the 10th round is all about having that battle of the wills to win and not give up. Buster Douglas came off of being knocked down by Mike Tyson in the 9th round. Then he comes back in the next round, and then he knocks out the big bad wolf in Mike Tyson. And all of that happened in the 10th round. Then I was going to show what happened in the fight with 45-year-old George Foreman challenging a man who was 19 years younger than him in the heavyweight champ of the world, the first heavyweight champ of the world, who was a southpaw, that is, Michael Moorer. And George Foreman was losing that fight big time. Like, it wasn't even close. Michael Moorer was giving George Foreman a boxing lesson, like he gave Evander Holyfield a boxing lesson. But he was giving George Foreman a boxing lesson until George Foreman landed a punch. And watch this. He landed one of the best combinations in the business. 1-2 punch. He landed it, right? Once he landed it, and that right hand hit Moorer flush, he said, oh, now I got the young bull. Because Michael Moorer started to move to the same side as the right hand, slightly. And because of the wisdom and experience of the 45-year-old lion, he baited the 19-year-old cub, hit him with that same punch again, like 5 seconds later. 1-2. Bop, boop. Michael Moorer goes down for the count. And George Foreman becomes the heavyweight champion of the world again after a 20-year hiatus, to become the oldest boxer in the history of the sport, as he knocked out Michael Moorer. And all of that happened in the 10th round. And then we have to also conclude it with this. Errol Spence Jr. goes to Kell Brook's backyard in England to challenge him for the IBF welterweight title. And for the first time, we've seen Kell Brook in trouble in the welterweight division. I'm not talking about when he moved up to fight Triple G. I'm talking about in the welterweight division. He was still ranked number 1 now. In the welterweight division at that time, he was the champion. But something happened. Let me tell you what happened. Errol Spence changed his levels up. And he knocked Kell Brook down. And after he knocked him down, Kell Brook got up. And Kell Brook began to fight back. Once again, the battle of wills happened in this round. But all of that happened in the 10th round. So stay tuned for part 3 of this three-part series I like to call In the 10th Round, where history has been made time and time and time again in the sport of boxing between two champions in classic fights. In classic fights now, special things usually happen in the 10th round.